In the year 1980, a certain video game would release that has gone on to become one of the most recognizable games ever. And that game is, of course, Pac-Man. Look at him, he's adorable. Or at least I think he is? Maybe? Oh, maybe not. Anyways, when the Pac-Man game debuted in the 80s, it was immediately a success, and even to this day it is still well known, and has been ported everywhere, and if it has a screen, you can probably play Pac-Man on it. And in today's video, we're going to take a look back at the history and evolution of the game's main character, Pac-Man. But before we begin, it would be greatly appreciated if you would leave a like, and maybe even a subscription if you aren't subscribed yet, if you enjoy this content. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. The original Pac-Man arcade game first released in July of 1980, and after the game's moderately successful launch in Japan, it released worldwide in December of the same year. The creator of the game was Tōru Iwatani, I hope I said that right, who was at the time an employee of the Japanese video game publisher Namco, and he wanted to create a game that would appeal to both women and men, because most of the games at the time only appealed to men, because most of said games at the time were either violent or sports related. So Iwatani, being the legend that he is, thought of the one thing that would make a woman want to play a video game. Make it about, eating. I'm not joking, by the way. The other aspect of the game that was meant to appeal to a female audience was to make the characters cute and colorful, which is why the ghosts in the game in particular are so colorful and why they have those big bulging eyes. So that's why the ghosts look the way they do. But the inspiration behind Pac-Man's design came from a pizza that had a slice taken out of it, and I can definitely see the resemblance. And although Pac-Man looked like this during the gameplay, on the actual arcade cabinet itself for the game, Pac-Man looked like this. What even is that? But in other promotional material, Pac-Man looked like this, which is much more akin to how he looks today. So after the concept for the game and the design of the characters had been settled, Iwatani and his team of 9 other Namco employees got to work, and in a year and 5 months, the small team had created their new game, titled Pac-Man. Once the game was created, it was released in Japan, as I said before, and in Japan it had a moderately successful launch, and after that it was set to be released worldwide, and it was licensed for distribution in the United States by Midway. And the English name for the game was originally intended to be Puckman, but because the name Puckman was a little bit too close to an inappropriate word in the English language, the game's name was changed to Pac-Man. After the worldwide release of Pac-Man, the game was an instant success, and in its first year the game generated $1 billion of revenue in quarters. And 2 years after the original Pac-Man arcade game released, a console port of the game was created for the Atari 2600, and in this game, Pac-Man's design got a very odd change. In advertisements for the game, he looked like this, which is just disturbing. And this port was expected to be a big success. And sales-wise it was, but reception-wise it was not. The game is regarded poorly because of its graphics and sound design. Just look at it, it's horrible. The flashing ghosts are painful to look at. And listen to the terrible noise that's made every time Pac-Man eats something. Horrendous. After the success of the original Pac-Man game, a spin-off was released in 1982 titled Miss Pac-Man, and this game introduced to us 2 new characters in the Pac-Man lore. One was of course Miss Pac-Man, and the other was this baby Pac-Man named Junior, and the game also renamed Clyde to Sue for some reason. After the release of Miss Pac-Man, a few other altered versions of the original Pac-Man game were created, such as Super Pac-Man and Pac-N-Pow. Another interesting point in the history of Pac-Man also came in 1982, with the release of the first animated Pac-Man television series, titled Pac-Man, which was created by Hannah Barbera. And in the show, Pac-Man was voiced by Marty Ingalls.
Well, what do you know? I fixed the sink.
Also in the show, Pac-Man's design was changed slightly. He now wore a hat, and the show changed the look of his eyes. Other than Pac-Man, the show featured other characters from the games, such as Miss Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man, a baby Pac-Man, and all the ghosts, Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Clyde. And they also added a 5th ghost for some reason, I guess 4 wasn't enough, named Sue. Yeah, remember how in Miss Pac-Man they renamed Clyde to Sue? Well now here, Sue is a whole brand new character. The show also added a new main villain because apparently the ghosts weren't enough. The show was not regarded highly, and was almost certainly Hanna-Barbera's attempt at a quick cash grab on the current popularity of the franchise, but at the time the show was considered a success. One last thing, why does Pinky sound like this?
Give me that. I'll get rid of it.
After the success of the show in 1984, a game based off of the show was released, titled Pac-Land, and Pac-Man's design in the game was similar to his design in the cartoon series, the differences being his hat got a feather, and his eyes went back to looking like this. And this game marked Pac-Man's first appearance in a side-scrolling platformer game, and like all the other installments in the franchise at this point, the game was a success. And after the release of Pac-Land, a few new Pac-Man games were released here and there, such as Pac-Mania and Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. Why does he look like that? The next noteworthy game in the Pac-Man series would come in 1999 for the PlayStation, with the release of Pacman World, and this game was the first time Pac-Man appeared in 3D. And in this game, Pac-Man's design was pretty much solidified. The game also introduced us to many more characters in the Pac-Man family. After Pacman World released, a Pacman World 2 and 3 would also be released. And in November of 2010, a new Pac-Man game released, titled Pac-Man Party, which as you could probably guess is a nice little rip-off of Mario Party. The game gave Pac-Man a fairly drastic design change. He now has these big blue eyes that look into your soul. The game also made his shoes more detailed, and while Pac-Man looks a bit different, the ghosts in the game got the most drastic design changes. And these designs would also be used in the next Pac-Man TV series titled Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. And I do not like it, those eyes do not fit Pac-Man. On June 10th, 2014, it was announced that Pac-Man would be joining the roster of Super Smash Bros. But interestingly enough, the original Pac-Man World design was used, and not the new design, which was 100% the right choice. The newer design just looks too weird. And pretty much since then, Pac-Man's design has stayed the same. But we're not done yet, because Pac-Man also made an appearance in the 2015 film Pixels. And not only did Pac-Man make an appearance, but Pac-Man's original creator, Tōru Iwatani, also made an appearance in the film. Pac-Man's most recent notable appearance was in the Pacman World remake. And in this game, Pac-Man's design is the same as it was in the original Pacman World. And I hope that this is Pac-Man's design going forward, because it is easily Pac-Man's best design throughout the years. And that was the history and evolution of Pac-Man. And if you enjoyed this video, a subscription, a like, and maybe even a comment would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to watch some of my other videos, I'll have a few linked in the description. And with that, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.